Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Elizabeth, and this is Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at Stealth, and Jacob, my TOEFL speaking and pronunciation specialist. He sent me an email with a link to your discussion thread over at my VoxyPop group for the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. So you completed, it looks like, an independent speaking practice test. This is listening, speaking, academic. And he told me to go ahead and listen and score your practice test. And excuse me, and also to answer your questions that you posted right after your discussion thread. So let's listen to what you have to say first.
According to the lecture, we know two fundamental terms of words economics. The terms are inflation and deflation. These are based in macroeconomics.
So in the beginning, you have an introduction and you set up the two terms of the economic terms of inflation and deflation. Your grammar was a little bit awkward and it's difficult to understand what you're saying. I'll be honest with you. Part of it is a recording that you made, but part of it I think could be your intonation. So I'd like to have you take a look at my pronunciation lessons on intonation. You can go and look at those, and also take a look at my grammar lesson number 1, which will maybe help you to combine some of your sentences so you use a little more complex type speaking.
This is the change in prices of goods over the time. In the case of inflation, the price increases. The price of goods increases, and in the case of deflation, the price of goods decreases.
Now you might use, if you talk about inflation and deflation, when you get done talking about the one topic, you could use a transition word like in contrast or on the other hand. So you can show that the two terms are different in terms of, they're different in terms of how they react to the economy.
The lecture states that it is possible to control inflation by increasing or decreasing the money supply by federal government activity.
So you're having some awkward pauses and hesitations in there, so you want to try to speak more smoothly. One way to do that is to group ideas into thought groups. A thought group consists of 4 to 5 stress words. You'll have a short pause with rising inflection before the next thought group. So again, thought groups are 4 to 5 stress syllables followed by a pause. And if it's not the last thought group, the tone needs to rise a little bit. So you want to work on blending the words in each thought group together. In the pronunciation section of my course, Elizabeth, you can take a look at those lessons on thought groups and blending.
This also includes as advanced research requirements. However, based on the information in the lecture, we can learn this is an informative passage.
So it was a little bit difficult to follow your thoughts and your ideas here. Part of it was the recording was not very clear, and part of it was some, I think, pronunciation issues you're having some trouble with. Based on the rubrics, I'm going to take a look at them right now. Okay, I'm going to click on the link here. Give me a second. So for integrated, okay, here we go. All right, I'm going to put you in the 2 area here. Looks like with your intelligibility, if I look at the rubrics, and you can click on them also, I include them in the YouTube video, in the description box of this video, Elizabeth. You can click on those rubrics as well. It says listener effort is needed because of unclear articulation, awkward intonation, or choppy, fragmented, telegraphic, and frequent pauses and hesitations. So I think that's really one of the main issues you have. Now with your grammar, I think you have limited range with your grammar. You want to use more complex type grammar in your speaking, so I think you can improve in that area a little bit. In terms of topic development, I mean, you answered the question. You have a pretty good understanding, I think, of the concepts of inflation and deflation, but maybe you can work on organizing the ideas a little bit better than what you did. All right, so in terms of organization, you can take a look at my speaking lesson number 7, which talks about how to make your speaking and your writing more coherent. So you can take a look at that. So I'm going to give you a score right now of 2.3 out of 4 or 18 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. All right? Anyway, thank you. And actually, you have a question here also. So let's take a look at what you have to say.
Hello, Michael. I would like you to give me some recommendation with regard of taking notes. Because the problem is that when I am listening to the lecture, I miss important points or I missed part of the conversation.
Okay, so let's restate what you're saying here is you're having some trouble taking notes. You're saying when you're taking down those notes, you're missing some of the key points, and you want me to give you some suggestions on how to take better notes.
For the lecture, when I am taking my notes, because I cannot concentrate in both things, listening and writing. So please help me with this point. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I get your question there. It's kind of difficult because listening to something and then jotting down the information is difficult because you have to do kind of two different skills at the same time. So to help you here are two things. Number 1, go to my listening lesson number 1 and even my reading lesson number 1. Both of those lessons will give you some good ideas on how to take notes on reading and listening passages. Number 2, it's a matter of practice. You have to practice listening more. So the other thing you can do, I recommend a lot of my students do this. If you have the time, this is very valuable. 2 things. Spend about 45 to 60 minutes every day reading academic type passages. Not necessarily just academic passages, Elizabeth, but you can spend time reading magazines, newspapers, and books. While you're reading those materials, take notes on the main points, what's called the thesis of the reading passage, and then the most important supporting points. So try to get those things down in note form. Again, focus on the main idea or thesis of the reading passage and the most important supporting points. Now, once you have those in note form, to help practice your integrated speaking and integrated writing skills, you can either write a summary of the reading passage or you can use those notes to orally summarize the information. So that's very, very good practice, good language practice. It helps you get more used to the language a little bit. Now, one of the reasons note-taking is difficult is you have to identify what the key points are, and then you have to try to rewrite those using different vocabulary and different grammar. And that's not easy to do when the information is coming at you so quickly, especially like during the TOEFL. The next thing, when you do listening, try to practice maybe 45 to 60 minutes of real, authentic listening passages each day. You can focus on news programs, documentary programs, science programs, maybe history programs. And as you're listening to those programs, again, try to focus on the main idea and the most important supporting points. So that would also be very, very helpful for you. And that's going to help give you a little more exposure. It'll get you more used to listening to English, and it'll be much easier for you to take notes later on. Now, one other idea is in the grammar section of my course. I want you to go there right now. I want to show you one more thing. So I made recommendations of reading and listening lessons number 1. And there's one more lesson in the grammar area I think you will benefit from. It's called Grammar Lesson Number 5. It's TOEFL Tips from Tadu, who scored 109 out of 120. Now, she also talks about the importance of note-taking. during the reading and the listening sections. So take a look at her tips in grammar lesson number 5, and that's also going to be very useful information for you. Alrighty, anyway, thank you very much for your comments and for your questions. I hope this video has answered some of your questions to help give you a little bit better experience with note taking. Alright, anyway, thank you very much.